Why, hello there. We're going over Tammany Hall today, how to play. This is Doug Eckhart's game based loosely off of Martin Wallace's Liberty. The theme is 1850 to 1870s New York politics in the Boss Tweed era, where immigrants were coerced and manipulated to determine the outcome of elections instead of having reasoned debate, which would elevate the political discourse. Wow, that must have been quite a wild time. So, this game is for 3 to 5 players. Basically, you're trying to get as many victory points as possible by winning elections and awards, and hopefully becoming mayor a few times. So let's get started, shall we? To start, each player is going to end up with a pile of ward boss meeples, little men in hats, their color, and 3 slander chips, black discs to the untrained eye. Other pieces will include the immigrant cubes. They'll be littered all over the board in various districts, and political favor chips matching each color of immigrant. It'll be orange for Germans, blue for Italian, white for English, and green for Irish. So on this beautiful board we've got 3 different districts. The districts are divided by a thick black line across the board. We'll be beginning in District 1 because we'll be simulating a 3-player game just to teach the rules. In addition, we have these cards depicting different offices that players can hold. We'll want to pull out the mayor card and 2 of the other offices for our simulated 3-player game. I like to shuffle these up and distribute them to each player. Whoever draws the mayor will be our first player for the first round, and we'll proceed clockwise from there. And then we'll set up the board. For a 3-player game, we're only going to set up the first district. The cubes depicted in the picture on the corner of the board will tell us what immigrant groups to include when setting up this first group. So in the first district, we'll set up 1 Irish in Tammany Hall, which is space 14, and then we can either set each ward randomly, or if you prefer, each player can take turns placing one of those cubes, if you like a less random setup. So each round will begin by starting with our mayor. Every turn will follow the same sequence. In the first election, the first thing we're going to check is Castle Garden. If there are no immigrant cubes in this space, we're going to need to draw some more immigrants from this bag. We will draw for the number of players plus 2. So in our simulated 3-player game, we'll have a total of 5 cubes. We'll place them in Castle Garden. I knew an Irish immigrant once. He looked exactly like this. Then we'll be placing pieces on the board. You can either place 2 ward bosses in given wards, or you can place 1 ward boss and 1 cube from Castle Garden. They can go in the same space, different spaces. It doesn't matter as long as they're one of the boards that are in the first district in play. When you place a cube from Castle Garden, you'll collect a political favor chip of the same color. So for an Irish one, we'll be able to collect 1 Irish favor chip and add it to our stock. But wait, why are we doing this? To win elections. Let me show you how that goes down, buddy. So, now that brings us to our election process. After 4 rounds, the term will have come to an end. We will be voting starting in the first district with Ward 1. On the board there are printed green arrows that will show you the order to proceed with elections. Starting in Ward 1, the natural wood player and the red player will be able to cast their political favor to determine the winner of that election. There are 3 different immigrant colors here, white, blue, and green. You'll be able to use any political favor in your bid that matches those groups, regardless of how many of each cube there are. So we'll do a closed fist bid, and then reveal how many favor we have. So I'm adding 3 votes to my vote, and the other player is adding 2 to theirs, so I would win the election, but all of our favor would be gone. The winner will keep 1 ward boss on that ward, and all other ward bosses will be removed from that ward. In addition, you'll mark 1 victory point for that ward that you've won. Some of these wards will have a gray bonus award printed on them. Wards 1 and 2 have a gray cube depicted. That'll allow you to grab any immigrant of your choice from this bag and place it anywhere on the board. Wards 4 and 7 have a gray disc depicted. That'll allow you to grab any 1 political favor chip and add it to your stock. Tammany Hall, Ward 14, will net the winner of that election 2 victory points instead of 1, but will only add 1 total vote to the total to determine who's going to become the next mayor. Once we've concluded the election in each of these wards, we'll be determining who our immigrant leaders are. We'll already have marked the victory points for each one of these wards that they've taken. Our immigrant leader is decided based on the number of cubes in the wards that are controlled by a given player. So the most Irish cubes belong in yellow wards. There's 2 in this one, 1 in this one, for a total of 3. So the yellow player would be our Irish immigrant leader. They would be rewarded with 3 political favor tokens of that color, which they'll add to their style. Then we determine who has the most English. That would also be the yellow player. Who has the most German? That would be the red player here. And then most Italian. There are 2 blue cubes in Ward 1, and there's a blue cube in 2 different wards controlled by yellow. So they actually have the same number and would tie for immigrant leader. That means both of them will receive 3 blue political favor tokens total. After our immigrant leaders have been decided, we're ready to decide upon a new mayor. If we had a tie in number of wards controlled, ties would be broken based on who has the most political favor, then who has the most Irish political favor, and so on down the line. In this case, though, we have a clear winner. 3 wards controlled by the yellow player, so they would be elected our new mayor. They would assign political offices to their opponents. Each player will receive 1 political office and all the benefits therein, no more, no less. And we're ready to start round 2. With our first term election over and a new mayor selected, we'll be starting our second term very similar to how we did the first one. We'll be grabbing from the 2nd district set up on the corner of the board and placing these cubes. They can be placed at random or in turn order, whichever you prefer, starting with the mayor and then going clockwise around the table. Then we will take any cubes that are left over in Castle Garden from the first election term and take them off of the board. The first player will then be proceeding, will be our mayor. They'll be proceeding in the same sequence as we did before with a couple minor changes. So first would be the Castle Garden phase, where they would be drawing 5 new cubes to go into Castle Garden from this bag. Then they would be able to use the benefits of their city office, which is appointed to them by our newly selected mayor. After that, we would proceed to placing pieces on the board, either 2 ward bosses or 1 ward boss and an immigrant cube from Castle Garden, just like before. And now we have a new superpower, being able to play one of our 3 slander chips. You'll only be able to use one once per term, not per turn. And when we play these chips, if I were to use slander and say this ward 2 right here, I'd be able to remove one of the opponent's ward bosses, provided that I have political favor of one of the immigrant groups in that space. I will pay one of those political favor and remove this red jerk. If I wanted to, as a Super Deluxe bonus, I can try to do it in an adjacent space, provided that the same immigrant group is in that space and I have more political favor to spend. Yoink. This will be the part of the game where you'll start losing friends permanently. So after 4 terms and 4 elections, we'll determine who our immigrant leaders are one last time. You'll want to make sure that each person collects their political favor chips for the groups that they're in the lead with, and then you'll determine who your mayor is, getting them the extra 3 victory points with that office. After that, there will be a couple scoring bonuses to take into account. 1, whoever has the most political favor for a given group will get an additional 2 victory points. If there's a tie between 2 players, both of them will receive those 2 victory points. And then any slander chips that were left unspent at the end of the game will be worth 1 victory point each. And you'll total that up and you'll have your final score and know who the winner is. This is a great game if you feel like you have too many friends and you want to whittle it down to an amount that's a bit more manageable. Tammany Hall, can't recommend it enough.